Hi students, this side Nandini. I'm an assistant professor in School of Art and Design at RIMT University. Today we're gonna study about textile fibers and its classification. Before starting, let me introduce you with the textiles and fibers and fabric as well. So let's start with introduction first. Textile study is the study of fibers, yarns, fabric and its construction. Clothing come in existence at very early age. Primitive, people made their clothing from animal skin, barks of trees, etc. With the development of science, textile industry developed and different fabrics or fibers come into existence. So that means कि while early man was using skin of animals like bears and loins to cover their body or to protect them from the weather or the climate change. But when the science developed, they try some new fibers that are cotton from the plants and others. So next, coming to next, that is fibers. What are fibers? Fibers are the fundamental units used in fabrication of textile yarns and fabric. Fibers are obtained from natural sources and are also man-made. Now let's start with classification of fibers. In the older times only wool, silk, cotton and linen fibers were used for making fabrics. But today, the list includes in addition to many man-made or synthetic fibers. Now let's discuss about the classification of fibers. Fibers can be classified into two parts, that's natural and man-made. So this is the flow chart of fiber, how fiber is classified. You can see on the right side it's natural and on the left it's man-made. So natural fibers are further divided into three parts, that's vegetable, animal and mineral. If I talk about vegetable fiber, you might have heard about cotton and linen. If I talk about animal fiber examples, so we can get wool from the sheep and silk from the silkworm, etc. If I talk about mineral fiber, then asbestos is the example to that we obtain from the rocks. Next, moving to the man-made fibers, regenerated fibers and synthetic fibers are the two types of man-made fibers. If I talk about the examples of regenerated fibers, then rayon, viscose and some of other are the regenerated fibers. Next, moving to the synthetic fibers, so polyester, nylon, acrylic, these are some of the examples of synthetic fibers. Now let's just discuss thoroughly about the natural fibers and man-made fibers. Moving to the next slide, natural fibers. Natural fibers are those fibers that we obtain from natural sources or from the nature itself. There are three types of natural fibers as we have studied in our previous slide. So first one is the plant fiber, second is the animal fiber and third is the mineral fiber. So let's study about the plant fiber first. The fibers we obtain from plants are plant fibers. The basic material of all the plant fiber life is cellulose. Cellulose is formed in the linear chains like beads in the necklace. That means as beads are in the necklace, the same is with the cellulose fiber. Cellulose formed a chain like a bead in the necklace, so they form the fiber, plant fiber. The element in cellulose are carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So these three, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, combines to make cellulose and cellulose further produce the fibers. So let's talk about the properties of plant fiber. All the cellulose fibers have almost similar properties. Some of the common properties are low resiliency, That means these fibers, the fibers are very low in resiliency, means these get wrinkles so easily. Second one is high density. That means these fibers are heavier than other fibers. High water absorbency. These fibers absorb water more than other fibers. Good conductor of heat. These fibers are so cool fibers that they absorb the heat within themselves and feels very cool when we wear this. And last one is the identification. So how do we identify that these fibers are plant fibers? For this, I have undergone with the burning test. I had burned these fibers. So after burning these fibers, they produce burn very quickly and produce ash-like material. So next is our animal fiber, and again animal fiber is a natural fiber. The fiber we obtain from animals are animal fiber. They are made of proteins as a chief constituent. The basic element for protein fiber are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. So again in this carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen, these four components mix together to form protein component, and protein further produces the animal fiber. You can see in these pictures that first one is the silk that we obtain from the silkworm and from the cocoon, and next one is the camel that produces that furry structure, furry fiber. Next is the spider silk, and last one is the wool that we obtain from sheep. So if I talk about the properties of animal fiber, common properties for animal fiber are high resiliency, means as cotton or plant fiber get more wrinkles, as compared to that animal fiber get less wrinkles, or wrinkles vanish once we wear the fabric. Medium density, these are lighter than the plant fiber. Low water absorbency, these don't absorb water as much as plant fiber do. Bad conductor of electricity, you can feel when we wear woolen or silk clothes, we feel some spark in that. In dry weather or in extreme cold weather, we feel some of the spark or electricity in them. So these are bad conductor of electricity. Last is the identification. When we burn this fiber, it produces smell like burning of pulses or burning of hair. Next one is the mineral fiber. The fibers are inorganic material shape, as fibers are mainly used in fireproof fabrics. The fibers are not in inorganic form. These are not in the form of fibers, but in some material that's takes the shape of fibers. Asbestos is practically the main natural mineral fiber. This is used more for industrial purpose than clothing in household. This fiber is used for industrial purpose or industrial garments. Rather, we don't use these at home. If I talk about the properties of mineral fiber, common properties of mineral fiber are: first one, these are fireproof. Second, resistance to acids, means they don't get dyed. We can't dye these fabrics. And last one is the identification. If you try to burn these fibers, they don't burn at all. So these are mineral fibers. Next, moving to the man-made fibers. We have studied about the natural fibers. Now moving to the man-made fibers. These fibers don't occur in fiber form, but are turned into it by man. So man-made fibers are not at all in the form of fibers. Man convert these fibers into the fiber form. The process involved breaking down their original form and then reassembling into different fibrous forms. Example for this is rayon, polyester, nylon. So these are some of the man-made fiber examples. If I talk about the types of man-made fibers, Then synthetic fibers and regenerated fibers are the two examples or two types of man-made fiber. Moving to the next, synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers, these fibers come from the number of chemical reaction. The material used are salt and solvents of various kinds. Natural material are not used in these fibers. These fibers are strong and bad conductor of heat in nature. These fibers don't need much care and have lots of strength, example nylon and polyester. So these don't need that much of care as our natural fiber needs. So these are strong enough that they can survive in any type of climate or any kind of weather. Right? Moving to the regenerated fiber, the raw material used are from natural sources. As I can say, synthetic fibers are directly made from the chemical or chemical reactions, but in regenerated fibers, natural sources are taken from the natural fibers. Natural sources are taken as the first of the raw material. After that, number of chemical reactions are taken place, are done on, are experimented on those material, those raw material, and further regenerated fibers are formed. Example to this is rayon and cellulose acetate, right? So rayon and cellulose acetate are example for these fibers. The properties of the fiber depends on the method of manufacturing and source of regeneration. Almost all the man-made fibers are having the same properties. So that's the reason I have combined both the properties for regenerated and synthetic fibers. Let's moving to the next are the properties of man-made fibers. Common properties for man-made fibers are high strength, as we have discussed earlier in the previous slide that these are very strong fibers. They are very high, they have very high strength. Strong when wet. When we put these fibers into some water, so these are more stronger as they are in natural environment. High resiliency, they don't get wrinkle at all. They don't need ironing or something like that. Low water absorbency, they don't absorb water that much. Identification, readily burn and melt, give plastic burning odor. When we burn these fibers, they produces some burning effect as if we burn plastic. They produces almost similar smell. Moving to the next, till this slide, we have discussed the classification of fiber according to their source or origin. Now let's discuss about the classification of fiber according to its length. So fibers are classified according to its sources, as we have discussed earlier. Now we're gonna study about classification of fiber according to its length. According to length, various fiber can be classified into two parts. Fibers can be classified into two parts according to its length as well. First one is filament fiber and second one is staple fiber. Now let's talk about filament fiber and staple fiber. That what are filament fibers and what are staple fibers? So with this, let me show. I'm showing you these two photographs. With this, a bit my message is a bit conveyed that filament fibers are longer than staple fibers. Staple fibers are shorter fibers, as we can see in this picture, that these are very short fibers. Tiny fibers are combined together to form a yarn or to form a thread, but filament fibers are longer, as we can see in this picture. So filament fibers are natural and man-made fibers of continuous length. These are of continuous length. They don't have some split ends. These can be measured in yarns or meters. Naturally occurring filament fiber is silk. Silk is the only natural fiber that can be considered as filament fiber. Synthetic fibers are also lengthy and are known as filament fibers. There are two types of filament fibers. Further, filament fibers are divided into two parts, that's monofilament and multifilament. Now let's discuss about what monofilament and what is multifilament. Monofilament are made of single and smooth strand. These are strong and soft. So monofilament is a single and a smooth strand. Multifilament are composed of number of tiny filament together. These are composed of number 1, 2 or more than 2 filaments produces this fiber. Now let's talk about our staple fiber. Staple fibers are short and measurable in inches and range of from 3/4 of inches to 18 inches in length. So this is the length how staple fibers is identified or measured. All the natural fibers except silk are considered as or are staple fibers. All the natural fibers except silk, as I have discussed in filament fiber, that silk is the only natural fiber that can be considered as filament fiber. But if I talk about staple fibers, silk is the only natural fiber that is not considered as staple fiber. Other than this, all the natural fibers are staple fiber. So that's all about the classification of fibers according to their length, according to their origin and sources. Thank you.